I feel like I'm walking around without an arm and a leg on one side. He was truly that much a part of my heart.
A wife, widowed after losing her husband in a 2019 highway crash.
Yo me siento bien triste por las personas, fueron vidas que se perdieron.
A mother whose truck driver's son now faces a lifetime in prison after being convicted of causing that crash. All part of a complicated case that's gained national attention and launched a conversation about mandatory minimum sentencing. In October, Rogel Aguilera-Mederos was found guilty on 27 counts, including vehicular homicide and vehicular assault, after his semi-truck plowed into several cars on Interstate 70 just outside Denver in 2019, leaving 4 people dead and many more injured. Earlier this month, a district court judge handing down a 110-year sentence for Mederos, saying Colorado's mandatory minimums forced his hand because certain crimes require sentences to be served consecutively rather than concurrently.
They decided to come up with mandatory minimums to try to make it more even playing field. I think originally it worked. I think now it has gone to the other side, though. Now the judges have used that as basically, hey, my hands are tied.
I believe that this case is a watershed moment, and I think that 2 major questions need to be asked. One, why is the legislature giving the prosecution so much discretion in prosecuting these cases? And the other question becomes is why aren't we giving judges more discretion? And so the legislature, I think, needs to reevaluate not only the stacking of charges, but also the mandatory minimums in them.
The sentence raising eyebrows for some. Kim Kardashian using her star power to draw attention to the case, tweeting, "Colorado law really has to be changed, and this is so unfair." And nearly 5 million people have signed an online petition asking for the controversial sentence to be reduced. But for some of the crash survivors and the loved ones of those who died, there's been a sense of closure, including for Gage Evans, whose husband Bill was killed.
For people to recognize that he was responsible for killing my husband gave me the chance to breathe.
In an expedited hearing today, the district attorney asking for the sentence to be reconsidered to only 20 to 30 years in prison, a dramatic shift in position.
Y'all, this is an exceptional case, and it requires an exceptional process.
There was recently a truck driver in Kansas that killed 5 people and got 5 years. So when you look at 110 years, and you even look at what the DA now is saying, to 20 to 30 years, it just doesn't add up. My client feels bad for those victims, but at the same time, we got to fight for what's right and for what's just.
Mederos' family also petitioning Colorado Governor Jared Polis for clemency. The League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, joining the family's fight.
The gross miscarriage of justice, the malicious prosecution, the weaponization of a prosecutor's office to get 110 years on a man who was just a simple truck driver, no prior criminal record. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't on drugs. The brakes failed, but for that he was a Latino immigrant, I believe the charges would not have been filed in the first place.
The DA's office did not comment directly on allegations of racial bias when asked by ABC News, but said in a statement that the sentence, which our office requested the minimum for, is within the purview of the court and reflects the judgment of the legislature. It was April 25th, 2019, when Mederos' truck caused a fiery pileup involving nearly 40 cars and about 100 witnesses. Killed that day were Miguel Angel Lames Arellano, 24, William Bailey, 67, Doyle Harrison, 61, and Stanley Politano, 69. Police say Mederos was going nearly twice the speed limit just before the crash. He claimed his brakes failed, causing him to lose control of his semi-trailer and slam into dozens of stopped cars.
I don't know why I'm alive.
Prosecutors arguing Mederos made multiple poor decisions, noting that he could have steered his truck onto a runaway ramp, but didn't. Prosecutors now asking for input from survivors and loved ones of the victims on whether they think Mederos' sentence should be reduced.
110 years, my heart flipped. I was expecting about 30 to 50 years.
I watched those 4 men burn to death, and every day I deal with that because that's not something you forget.
Valerie Robertson Young was a witness to the crash.
He had no concern for any of the victims. He had no concern for any of the people he hurt. His only concern was that he was going to go to jail.
Frustrating that people think that he's the victim.
Addison Norbe was 15 years old and just learning to drive when she was caught in the pileup. The debate over Mederos' sentence opening up old wounds.
After the trial, I thought it was all over. And then with social media bringing it up again, I feel as if nobody understands the full case. And that's really painful for people to talk about from a perspective that they don't completely understand.
I think of clemency as being for someone who has truly owned their responsibility in their crime. And I do believe he is sorry, but he hasn't owned up to his responsibility that made it happen.
The question becomes, who's responsible for how we prosecute these cases so that this doesn't come up? Why wasn't this prosecuted in a way that would find peace and solace for everyone, including the victims' families?
The prosecution did have to issue a statement after a member of the team posted a photo on social media of a trophy celebrating the conviction, a break shoe with the case number, the photo prompting outrage.
¿Cómo vas a celebrar algo? Te estás burlando también de la familia de los fallecidos.
The post was taken down, and the DA responded, saying the break shoe was not a piece of evidence and that the post was in very poor taste and did not reflect the values of her administration. She says the issue was handled internally.
It matters who the district attorney is. It matters who the judges are. It matters who your state legislators are, because these type of laws, these type of charges, and these type of outcomes can happen to anybody.
In Colorado, sentence reductions for convictions of violent crimes can't go into effect until 119 days after the convicted enters prison.
I think the judge understands the ramifications of this case and how this makes Colorado justice look like. And I think the governor is also looking at making a rapid decision. He has 14 days with the plea for clemency that's been filed by his lawyers to make a decision on his own. So we think something will probably happen by the end of January.
The reduction of sentencing from 110 years to 20 or 30 is almost unheard of, but I think because of the pressure here, we may see something actually come from this request.
The next court date is scheduled for January 13th. Until then, more waiting for a mother desperate to help her son.
Tengo el apoyo de todos los países del mundo. Me llaman cada 5 minutos que quieren su libertad, que es una injusticia, que se sabe que fue un accidente.
And more drawn-out pain for the survivors and loved ones left behind.
All those choices he had, he made the wrong choice every time. That's why we're here today. Not because it was an accident, because he made choices that caused it. And that's what people need to hear.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.